Well, hey there, I'm Dr. Tom Ulrich, and I like to talk about leadership and engineering. But since you see these two little guys, you also know I'm going to talk about Scrum. Hey, in this video, what I want to do is talk about the Scrum Product Owner. Now, Ruben, who's I keep mentioning his book, in his book he says, there's three roles that constitute every Scrum team: the Scrum Master, the development team that includes developers, testers, UX, whatnot, and the product owner. So the product owner is one of the three roles on Scrum. Now, an easy corollary to this is that, if your team doesn't have a product owner, A, your team's not a Scrum team, and B, you're not doing Scrum. So having a product owner is an essential aspect of doing Scrum. All right, so having established that, then, what are the responsibilities of a product owner? Well, Schwaber, in his 2004 book, he says, the product owner is responsible for representing the interests of everyone with a stake in the product and its resulting system. Now, 5 years later, in his Scrum Guide, Schwaber says, the product owner is responsible for maximizing the value of the work that the Scrum team does. Let me say that another way. The product owner is responsible to make sure that the Scrum team is working on the right things. See, the idea is the Scrum Master gets everybody focused, helps them get self-organized, and everybody is working on the goal. The Scrum Master and the Scrum team are focused on accomplishing the task. The product owner is essential to make sure they're doing the right task. Ruben goes as far as saying about the product owner he says the product owner is the empowered central point of product leadership. So again, you see this picture of the product owner is not sort of a, oh yeah, we have one of those. They do something. It's an essential part of Scrum. Now, I guess my summary of the whole thing is pretty much what I said a second ago is, all eyes are on getting the work done, except for the product owner is making sure we're doing the right work. And you need that symbiotic approach. Otherwise, you can very effectively and very efficiently accomplish the wrong thing. Okay, so what are the responsibilities of a product owner? Well, Ken Rubin lists several. The first one he says is the product owner manages economics. And here's the thing that drives me crazy. So it's the role of the product manager to do the economics kind of thing. And I've seen over and over again, they get to that point and they come to the Scrum Master and say, hey, I need you to do this. No. Delegating to the Scrum Master does not count. When a product owner abdicates the responsibility to manage the economics, that's abdicating their role. That's the opposite of leadership. See, we want the product owner to manage the economics. Now, the next thing Ruben says is the product owner participates in planning. Now, note here, we have a careful balance we have to maintain. The product owner is responsible to make sure we represent the stakeholders, that do the right thing. They're responsible to identify priorities. And in fact, a product owner that messes up on, doesn't get the priorities right is really doing poorly at their job. But the thing is, you have to understand the product owner participates in planning. They don't dictate planning. See, the thing I've seen on several cases is I've had this sense where, somebody becomes a product owner and it's like they've been frustrated their whole career that they never get their own way. And now's a chance for them finally to be the person. Now they have power and people will listen to them. And that's just not it. You participate in plan. You don't dictate plan. Ruben says another responsibility of the product owner is to groom the product backlog. Now, everybody participates in that, the Scrum team, the Scrum Master, and the product owner. But, when you ask this question, okay, we need a single wringable neck. This product backlog was not groomed. Whose fault is that? And the answer is the product owners. I've observed just in long practice with Scrum, and I guess I've been using Scrum for about 16 years, is very few product owners are willing to carve out time for this. They always feel like they're too busy. But you see, this is one of the most important things they do. And, another thing I would say is when you use tools like Jira and other things, I know people really like those tools, but, you quickly end up with a product backlog of hundreds of items. And no wonder the product owner feels like they haven't got time to sort it out. So this is my take, and this is probably everybody who's a thought leader will disagree, but I would say, as far as the product owner goes, I would limit their backlog to 12 prioritized items. You can have other things on the list, but in terms of priority, you tell me which ones are the top 12 and which one in which order. And that sort of frees them up a little bit. They don't have to prioritize everything, but they have to prioritize the 12 most important things. And it can be less than that. I mean, if your product backlog has only 3, well, great. But the danger I see is you quickly end up with 150 items in the product backlog, and that is completely missing the point of Scrum. The product owner also defines acceptance criteria and verifies they're met. That's what Ruben says. And my observation is I've seen very few product owners that make time to inspect the product. They sort of come in, they're hurried, they say a couple things about acceptance criteria, and they don't bother to check it, and then they're a little bit surprised when it doesn't match their expectations. See, one of the key ideas in Scrum is it's an inspect and adapt. And so and part of the reason is, well, maybe the team messed up, but of equal likelihood is that there was poor communication, and the team didn't correctly hear what the product owner was trying to say. And so this idea of adapting is, the product owner does the best they can to articulate the idea, and they work at it and get it pretty close, but it isn't until inspection of the final material that we discover all the ways in which, oops, I didn't say that properly. So, it's essential that product owners make time to define the acceptance criteria and make time to personally inspect and or test. Now, another thing Ruben says is the product owner collaborates with the development team. And I would make this comment on that. When you collaborate, it necessarily involves recognizing your own limits. And, if you're a product owner, that doesn't mean you know everything. It doesn't mean you're the subject matter expert. And I would say it's very important for product owners, especially ones who aren't engineers, don't play engineer. Early on at Tandem, we had a problem. We had a product owner who kind of flunked out of engineering school and was always kind of frustrated he couldn't, be an engineer. And he got to be a product owner, and all of a sudden he's wanting to specify we're going to use this language or with this detail. And it was sort of like he finally had his chance to sort of make up for failing and, failing out of school. And that completely misses the point. What you want to do is focus on what you want, not how to do it. Let the people doing it figure out how. The product owner needs to figure out what. At any rate, and then the final one is collaboration with stakeholders. And again, that's what Ruben says. And again, it's not that, okay, I'm the product owner, now I get to have it my way. I mean, I think of that song from The Lion King, that there's more to leadership than just getting your own way. So it's collaborating, which means listening. And here's a mark of a failed product owner. So the product owner comes in, says, do this, this, and this. The team does it. Product owner says, great. And then you show it to a wider audience. Perhaps you've got VPs and whatnot there, and they unilaterally say that's the wrong thing. See, the mistake there was the product owner didn't get everybody else's, they didn't get collaboration, which means they once again don't get their way. But what you don't want is a product owner creating situations where you solve the wrong problem. And that's only going to happen when the product owner talks to all the stakeholders, establishes a consensus, and then brings it to the team. All right, so what are the characteristics of a product owner? Well, Ruben lists 4. He says they've got to have domain skills, so it needs to be someone who understands the market. It's not like, oh, we need a product owner, you new grad, you do it, we don't have anybody else. No, it needs to be a senior person. It's a senior role. So at Tandem, it needs to be someone who truly understands diabetes. Ruben points out people skills, and a phrase you hear a lot at Tandem is we don't want people with sharp elbows. We don't want the kind of person that's dominating and imposing their wills. It's got to be people skill. You've got to know how to create consensus, and work gets done by people working together. The leader's got to have some decision-making skills. By the way, there's an entire body of literature on this, and in some cases, you can really know what the market needs. If you're making a Me Too product, that's very, very easy. If you're out on the cutting edge, it's very, very difficult. But either way, you need someone who knows how to make a decision and doesn't oscillate until it becomes clear. We do need some decision, and that's a little bit of a balance point, right? We don't want the dictator, but at the same time, we don't want the limp noodle who's just simply not leading. The final thing Ruben points out is, the product owner needs to be somebody who's committed, accepts responsibility, and really embraces Scrum. So it needs to be somebody who's all in on the process and who's willing to say, if we made the wrong thing, it is my fault. I would add a couple. I would add two more. I would say the product owner needs to be a good communicator. They may have all the domain skills in the world, but if they can't articulate it coherently, that's a problem. And I would say they need synthetic skills. And what I mean by that is the ability to synthesize. So, anybody can create a 50-page summary or 50-page description of something. What the skill we're really looking for is boiling it down. To be the kind of leader that can say, okay, let's cut through all the nonsense. It needs to do three things. It needs to do A, B, and C. See, narrowing down all this stuff is a very difficult skill, but that is a skill you need in a product owner. All right, as a final thing, let's talk about the product owner and other roles. So Ruben addresses that, and one question is, can you have one person be the Scrum Master and the product answer? And the answer overwhelmingly is no. Scrum Master should be focused on getting the team to apply Scrum and do its tasks. The product owner role is the opposite of that. And you simply can't have one person. It doesn't work when you try to have one person. However, can you have one person be a product owner for multiple Scrums? And Ruben's answer is yes, especially if those Scrums are, kind of related. So for instance, at Tandem, we have a Scrum for the automatic dosing algorithms. We have a Scrum for integrating continuous glucose monitors, and you could see where the same person could easily be the product owner for both, because the automatic dosing algorithms use the continuous glucose monitors and so on. There's just a whole bunch of overlap. The final question is, can one person be a product owner and a member of the development team? Remember, we said there's three roles: Scrum Master, product owner, and development team. So the answer is yes, according to Ruben. You can be a product owner and a member of the development team. And the same is true of Scrum Master. You can be a Scrum Master and a member of the development team. The trick is you have to recognize your priorities. If you're doing both, product owner and development team, you have to always prioritize product owner activities come first, because nobody else is doing that. So if you're doing both, fine, but anytime there's any open item related to product owner, do that, then come back and be your development team leader. At any rate, so hopefully that helps. Hey, if you'd like to see more videos on Scrum, or most of my videos are on leadership, feel free to go to tomulrichconsulting.com. You can find my videos on YouTube. Just search on Dr. Tom Ulrich. Hey, if you don't mind, can you maybe leave a comment? I'll respond. Can you subscribe? That would be amazing. And at any rate, thanks for listening. We'll talk to you next time.